The door slid open with a soft sigh, and the world changed. Light spilled across the room, gold from the corridor, silver from the twin moons outside, and caught on her skin like starlight caught in motion. For a heartbeat, time itself forgot to breathe. She stood near the viewport, half-turned, eyes wide but unafraid. In her hands, something shimmered, a pulse of soft blue light, like a secret heartbeat exposed. I froze. She froze. The ship hummed around us, the sound of space beyond the glass like a held breath between two people who had already gone too far to turn back. I had returned early from the command deck. I'd wanted silence, maybe a drink, maybe to stop thinking about the endless politics that had dragged us to the edge of the known galaxy. Instead, I found Lyra. My assigned attendant, though that word never quite fit her. She wasn't like the others, too quiet, too graceful, too impossibly calm for someone meant to serve. Her skin carried a faint luminescent trace, pale silver veins gliding just beneath the surface, visible only when the lights dimmed. And now, standing there, she seemed to glow brighter, like she was caught between embarrassment and defiance. Her fingers tightened around whatever she held. "You weren't supposed to return yet," she said, her voice low, melodic, not quite human. It vibrated softly, as if the air itself bent to her tone. "I didn't know I needed permission to walk into my own quarters," I replied, trying to sound casual. My heart didn't get the memo. The silence between us thickened. The blue light flickered against her palms, casting shadows that made her eyes impossible to read. I stepped closer, slow enough to give her time to react, but she didn't move. Not away, not forward. Just watched me, like she was trying to decide whether to hide or to be seen. "That thing you're holding," I said finally, nodding toward it. "It's not standard ship equipment." She hesitated. "It's not meant for humans." "Then why are you holding it in my room?" Her lips parted, a quick breath, then silence again. There was fear there, but not of me. The light in her hands dimmed slightly, revealing something shaped almost like a sphere, but alive. I could see faint filaments pulsing within it, moving in rhythm, steady, then quick, then steady again. It looked disturbingly familiar, like the echo of a heartbeat I couldn't place. When she spoke again, her voice trembled. "It's called an Aurelian core. It shouldn't even exist here." She stopped, glancing at me, then out the window where a nebula burned faint purple against the dark. "I was only remembering home." I stepped closer still, now just a few feet away. "That's not all it does, is it?" Her silence was answer enough. The air between us shifted. I could smell the faint trace of her, something like rain on metal, mixed with warmth that shouldn't have been possible in recycled ship air. The hum of the engines faded beneath the rush of my pulse. My mind screamed that I should step back. My body didn't listen. "Lyra," I said quietly, "you're hiding something." Her eyes met mine, and for a moment, it felt like gravity had chosen sides. "And you, Commander," she said softly, "are seeing too much." The core pulsed again, once, twice, and in that dim light, I thought I saw something impossible reflected on its surface. My own face, overlapping with hers, flickering in and out like two heartbeats trying to sync. Before I could speak, she closed her hands around it and the light vanished completely. The spell broke. The hum of the ship returned. The moment between us collapsed under the weight of reality. "I'll finish cleaning and be gone," she murmured, voice suddenly formal, controlled. I nodded, though I didn't move. "Right. Of course." But even as I turned toward the door, I could feel her eyes on me, warm, frightened, and curious all at once. And I knew, with the kind of certainty that can ruin a man, that whatever she had hidden wasn't done with me yet. Outside, the corridor stretched empty and cold. Inside, behind a sealed door, something faintly blue began to glow again. Days passed like ripples through vacuum. Lyra spoke little, moved quietly, and avoided the places where I tended to linger. The quarters felt colder without her hum in the background, the faint rhythm she'd once carried through my routines. It shouldn't have mattered. She was staff, I was command. Yet every time the ship lights dimmed for night cycle, I found myself listening for her footsteps outside my door. The Aurora's edge drifted through a quiet stretch of space between systems. Diplomatic lull, they called it. To me, It was the ache of waiting. My wrist still bore that faint trace of blue, a mark I hadn't earned and couldn't explain. Medical scanners found nothing, just residual energy, harmless. But it pulsed sometimes, in sync with a thought I couldn't name. One night, I couldn't sleep. The stars outside looked too sharp, too close. I wandered through the ship's corridors, following instinct more than direction. The hum of the engines led me past the crew quarters, through the observation deck's access tunnel, and there, framed by glass and infinite dark, stood Lyra. She didn't hear me at first. She was speaking softly in her native tongue, the syllables round and melodic, not meant for translation. In her hands, the same glowing core floated just above her palms, rotating slowly. Its light played across her face, turning her silver skin to something otherworldly. I hesitated at the threshold, unsure if stepping closer would shatter whatever fragile calm she'd built. But curiosity won. "You talk to it," I said quietly. Lyra's shoulders stiffened. She didn't turn. "You shouldn't be here, Commander." "Maybe not," I said, stepping forward. "But I think you knew I'd come anyway." That drew her gaze. The reflection of the stars made her eyes look endless. "You carry its resonance," she whispered. "It was never meant to bind to you." I frowned. "Bind? The core isn't just memory," she said, voice low, words measured as if she weighed each one. "It's connection. Emotion given form. My people use it to link hearts across distance, to share thought, to heal loneliness." I stared at the pulsing sphere. "And now it's linked to me." She closed her hands around it, extinguishing the light. "Because I failed to guard it. Because I wanted to understand you." The honesty in her tone hit harder than any accusation could. "You were studying me," I said, though it didn't sound like a question. Her chin lifted. "I was assigned to. You're the first human diplomat to carry the title of Unity Envoy. My task was to observe your patterns, how you react to intimacy, to trust, to isolation." I let out a short, dry laugh. "And walking in on you that day wasn't part of the experiment, I take it." Something almost like a smile flickered at her lips. "No. That was an error in timing." The silence that followed wasn't empty. The ship hummed beneath our feet, the stars glided past like silent witnesses. I stepped closer, until I could see the soft shimmer that lived under her skin. "And what did you learn?" I asked. Her voice barely carried. "That humans burn brighter when they try not to feel." My throat tightened. For a moment, neither of us looked away. The core, still cupped between her fingers, flickered once more, 2 pulses, perfectly matched. The same rhythm that had haunted my wrist. "Then what happens now?" I asked. Lyra turned back toward the viewport. "Now, I try to unbind us before the Council learns. Such a link between species is forbidden." "Forbidden," I repeated. "Because it's dangerous. Because it's irreversible." The light from the nebula outside caught her face again, softer this time. I saw the conflict there, the duty she owed her people, the fear of what she'd already started. "Lyra," I said quietly, "what if it's not something that needs undoing?" Her breath hitched, almost imperceptible. Then she stepped back, the professional mask sliding over her features like a shield. "You don't understand what this means. If the bond stabilizes, it won't just link our minds. It will change us. Both. And if you fail to break it, then one of us stops existing as we are." She turned to leave, but I caught a flicker of light on the glass, a small glow tracing my reflection, right over my heart. The same hue as hers. When I looked down, the mark on my wrist was glowing again. And for the first time, it pulsed faster than my heartbeat. Lyra saw it too. Her expression faltered, a mix of wonder and dread. "It's already begun," she whispered. Then she was gone, footsteps fading into the corridor's hum. I stood there, alone with the stars, feeling 2 pulses, one mine, one not, struggling to find the same rhythm. The Aurora's edge drifted closer to the Council system, a week out from diplomatic orbit. Every corridor hummed with quiet tension, crew cleaning uniforms, officers rehearsing neutral smiles. But under it all, I could feel the pulse. My pulse. Ours. Lyra kept her distance, yet every time she entered a room, the air changed temperature. She avoided my eyes, spoke in clipped tones. The professionalism was armor, and it cracked whenever our hands brushed by accident. Each touch left the faintest trace of blue between our skin, fading slow. By the third night, I stopped pretending it wasn't happening. When I returned to my quarters, the mark on my wrist glowed bright enough to see through fabric. I called up a med scan. The system flickered, stalled, then failed, overloaded by an unidentified resonance interference. I didn't need translation, it was her. The bond she'd warned me about was no longer a trace. It was alive. The intercom chimed once. Lyra's voice, small, steady. "Commander Ward. May I enter?" I hesitated before answering. "You never ask." "Tonight, I should." The door slid open, and she stepped inside, wearing her service uniform, though her glow still found its way through the fabric. She looked exhausted, as if she hadn't slept since the night in the observation deck. The Aurelian core hovered faintly behind her, contained within a small energy field. "It's reacting to you again," she said. "I noticed," I said. "It's getting stronger." She nodded once. "It shouldn't. I've tried to suppress the link, but your physiology keeps mirroring mine. Our biochemistries are syncing." I gave a half smile. "You say that like it's a bad thing." She didn't return it. "You don't understand what syncing means for my kind. Our emotions aren't private, they shape matter. Influence the core. If I feel something too strongly, it can fuse through the link. It could rewrite you." Her words settled like static in the air. "Rewrite," I repeated. "Yes." She looked away. "Erase what's human." I took a step closer. "Then why do I feel more like myself when you're near?" That stopped her. Her eyes lifted, uncertain, searching. The core behind her pulsed once, twice, our shared rhythm again. The ship suddenly shook, a tremor, brief but real. She glanced toward the ceiling, alarm flashing across her face. "It's sensing instability." I caught her arm before she could retreat. "Then stop running from it." The hum of the ship deepened. For a moment, light spilled from the core, wrapping around us both. I felt her thoughts like heat, fear, guilt, wonder, and my own emotions echoed back at me, amplified. The link was no longer two signals meeting halfway. It was a circuit. "Lyra," I said quietly, "this isn't just you or me anymore." She was trembling. "If we give in, the bond will complete. They'll detect it. I'll be recalled, worse, you'll be dissected for what's left of the merge. Then we hide it," I said. Her eyes softened, torn between logic and longing. "You don't hide a sun, Commander." The core flared brighter, then dimmed again. She pressed her palms against the wall, breathing hard. "It's stabilizing through contact. We need distance before it locks." "I don't want distance." "Want isn't the question." Her voice cracked. "You think this is romance, but it's biology playing tricks. The core was designed to connect soldiers on battlefields, to keep them alive through shared feeling. Love wasn't supposed to happen." I took her hand anyway. Then maybe evolution didn't get the memo. The blue light flooded the room, silent and slow, like moonlight poured underwater. For a second, all boundaries dissolved, species, duty, fear. And then it faded, leaving us both breathless and changed. When the alarms blared, neither of us moved at first. Then the comm activated, the captain's voice, tight with protocol. "All officers to the bridge. Incoming communication from the Aurelian Council. They've detected an authorized signal resonance aboard the ship." Lyra turned pale, or what passed for pale on her luminous skin. "They've found us." I reached for her wrist, the glow between our marks burned bright enough to sting. "Then they'll have to take us both." She shook her head. "No. They'll separate us, physically, neurologically. They'll erase the bond and everything attached to it." Her eyes met mine. "They'll erase me." The core floated closer, hovering between us like a silent witness. It pulsed twice, once for her, once for me, and then steadied, perfectly in sync. Outside the viewport, the stars bent under the approach of a massive vessel, the Council's enforcers. Their lights were cold, geometric, final. Lyra whispered, almost to herself, "We have one cycle left before docking. After that, The choice is gone. I didn't answer. There was nothing to say that wouldn't sound like surrender. Instead, we stood in the dim hum of the failing lights, the pulse between us slowing, evening out, as if preparing for whatever came next. And for the first time since I'd met her, Lyra looked at me not with fear, but with quiet resolve. If there's no way to undo what we are, she said, then we decide what it means. Outside, the Council's ship loomed larger. Inside, two heartbeats, human and alien, merged into one. Docking felt like surrender. The Aurora's edge drifted into the Council's orbit under a halo of light, ceremonial, sterile, a reminder of who held power here. The ship's crew moved with nervous precision, each order crisp, each silence loaded. But beneath it all, that pulse still beat under my skin. Hers too. Lyra had been taken hours before we made contact. Council envoys boarded without warning, 3 beings draped in white, faces covered, language cold and mathematical. They claimed containment protocol. No one dared question it. When they led her past me, she didn't resist, didn't speak. Just one look, steady, unreadable, as though she was memorizing me before vanishing. Now, I stood in the holding bay, stripped of command clearance, staring at the empty docking corridor where they'd taken her. I could still feel her through the link, faint but steady, a heartbeat under noise. The medtechs had tried to dampen it, no use. The bond lived in the spaces science couldn't name. A small console flickered to life beside me. A message. Her voice, distant, encrypted, barely a whisper through static. Elias. They mean to separate us at the tribunal. They'll use the core to purge my memory. Don't fight them. Survive. Then silence. I didn't listen. The council chamber was carved from translucent crystal, built to inspire humility. I felt none. Lyra stood at the center, enclosed in a stasis field. The core hovered beside her, pulsing softly like a trapped star. Around her, the counselors glowed faintly, each one connected to the chamber's neural web. When they spoke, it was through resonance rather than words. An authorized cross-species link. Violation of protocol. I stepped forward before they could continue. You talk of violations, but you sent her to observe me. You engineered proximity, emotion, risk. You just didn't plan for what happens when observation becomes understanding. Their light brightened, a warning. Human impulse is not understanding. Maybe not, I said, but it's real. I raised my wrist, the mark blazed through my sleeve. The core pulsed in response. Whatever this is, it's no weapon. It's proof that we can connect beyond fear. You call it contamination, I call it evolution. The chamber trembled. Not physically, resonance, again. Emotion in the architecture. They weren't used to being challenged in feeling. One counselor flickered brighter. The core's energy pattern is unstable. Termination is required. Lyra met my gaze then, her voice breaking through the containment field. Don't, Elias. You'll only. But the core reacted first. Its light expanded, spilling across the crystal floor, projecting waves of color and memory. The chamber filled with visions, hers, mine, intertwined. 1,000 moments compressed into one pulse, the first time she'd seen Earth's sunrise from orbit, the sound of my heartbeat through the link, her fear, my awe, her hope that maybe humans could love without conquest. The Council's web shuddered under the flood. One by one, their lights dimmed, overwhelmed by what they'd dismissed as anomaly. When the light faded, the core hung still, then split. Half of it dissolved into Lyra's chest, the other into mine. The bond no longer needed a vessel. They released us hours later, dazed, unharmed, unpunished. Or maybe simply unsure. The tribunal hadn't spoken a word after the collapse. Their silence felt like surrender or retreat. Back aboard the Aurora's edge, I found Lyra in the observation deck, the same place where all of this had begun. She stood with her hand against the glass, watching the stars drift. Her skin glowed faintly, calm now. So, I said softly, do we count as an experiment gone wrong or a miracle no one will admit? She turned, eyes gentler than I'd ever seen them. Both. Maybe neither. I moved closer until we shared reflection in the glass. What happens now? Her answer was almost a smile. We leave before they decide. The next morning, a shuttle detached from the Aurora's edge, registry unlogged, flight path uncharted. Just 2 life signatures aboard. The stars ahead blurred into streaks as the engines ignited. Inside the cabin, silence carried a different weight, peaceful, not empty. Lyra rested her head against my shoulder, her bioluminescence fading to a soft rhythm against the dark. "Do you still feel it?" she asked. I pressed a hand to my chest. "Always." Outside, galaxies curved in the distance, unmapped, waiting. Between heartbeats, I thought I could feel the core's echo, not as a burden, but as a compass. 2 rhythms, 1 pulse, carrying us somewhere no council could name. And in that endless quiet between stars, the word forbidden finally lost its meaning.